Hello and welcome to the Temple of Tomes with your host, Indie Comics Jones. Today is November 22nd, 2020, and this is episode 134. Today we're going to take a look at The Monster Men, Heart of Wrath, Part 3 of 3. This is number 3, of course, for this arc. American Mythology Productions, and this is part of the Edgar Rice Burroughs universe. Now, I just want to mention that originally The Monster Men was a story by Edgar Rice Burroughs, but since then, when it's gone into comic book form, they have done a few adaptations of sequels type thing. And these in particular have been written by Mike Wolfer, and he's doing a terrific job. He's got a long storied history doing sci-fi, horror, and fantasy, and this has got a little bit of everything in it. We are wrapping up the arc, as I want to say. Now, American Mythology Productions has done a number of these that I've recommended, different titles, of course, but I just want to mention that they do a real good job of their packaging on these. And for instance, for this is quite a tale, and they give you a nice synopsis over here of what's happened in the past 2 issues. Plus, there was one other issue, like a one-shot about the Monster Men beforehand. But it's quite a rambling story. It's got Townsend Harper is our hero. You can see him here, very muscular, handsome guy who actually fell in love at one point with a woman he saw at first sight, love at first sight, and he followed her across the world. And basically this story has pirates and cannibals and hostile tribesmen and the British Army and a mad scientist who happens to be the father of the woman he fell in love with, plus a few other characters in here that pop up from time to time. And the basis of this is the mad scientist is trying to create his own humans. And what happens is he's got a number of vats that he and they're numbered, that he has something growing in them. At one point, Townsend washes ashore, he has amnesia. One of the associates of the mad scientist finds him on the shoreline and sticks him in one of the vats, replacing him with one of the other creatures. And that was creature number 13, or vat number 13. So the mad scientist wanted the number 13 to marry his daughter because it was supposed to be the perfect man. And it turns out Townsend Harper is pretty much the perfect man. He was already in love with the daughter, and the daughter fell in love with him when she finally first met him. But this story, they go back to the island. This is after they escaped it and everything, to look for number 13, to see if he's still alive. And of course, he is still alive. And they never really show his face, but you figure it's pretty horrifying to see. You can see a little bit of his mouth here. He's got these really jagged teeth, jagged, sharp teeth. But it turns out that he's much more sophisticated than they anticipated. And Virginia, after being kidnapped by him twice, has actually made a friendship with him, or some kind of alliance here, which is great. They get captured, however, and taken back to the British compound. Actually, number 13 gets knocked out. They're calling him Otto now. I guess he was named by one of the Mad Doctor's former assistants. He gets knocked down into this cave, and Townsend finds him. Townsend's been trying to track down Virginia after there was a little battle at the fortress he was in, and he's now heading towards this other fortress on the other side of the island. So it's quite the story. It's got a lot going on, a lot of characters popping in and out, a lot of action. And what I liked about it, there was a lot of narration at the beginning, but it really sets up the story. Plus you have this to remind you what happened in the past. Like I mentioned before, the writer was Mike Wolfer. The art is pretty good, and it's Roy Allen Martinez. He's been working on all the Monster Men books. And so we get this nice dialogue, little backstory, a little depth of the characters. And there's actually, see this heart here. Virginia actually put that in there as a signal to him to keep following. He was on the right track to tracking him down. So once we get past this first page, the narration kind of drops out, and then it's just pretty much short bursts of dialogue followed with lots of action, which really moves the story along, and the pictures are nice enough that you will sit there and look at them very closely and try to decipher if there's anything you're missing out of there. So you can see he's checking for a heartbeat. So just some really nice work by the artist Martinez. And Mike Wolfer, of course, is a very good writer. I think I've probably done reviews on about half a dozen of his books that he's written, and I've liked them all. And they've all been American Mythology productions, but he has worked for other major comic book companies in the past. This seems to be his thing now, though. Let's give you a little bit of luck on here. So even though this is the end of the arc, it does get to a point. You can see the nice fight scenes are really, really nicely choreographed here with just enough detail. It's like a little punch to the face, a palm to the chin there. So you get the nice action, and then number 13 is like this tunneler, this amazing tunneler. He pops out and takes on the assailant here and gets rid of him. See, then you get this other guy shooting machine gun up here. It's just great. It's just a lot of action, and it's well drawn and well documented. So that it kind of ends with where did all the other, because they started building new or creating new monsters, but suddenly they're all gone. So this leads to the next arc that is coming up. I don't know if it'll have Townsend Harper in it or not, but it says, to be continued in the Monster Men Island of Terror. So that'll be Island of Terror will be up next. This again was the Heart of Wrath arc. Okay, so let's take a quick look at some of the other things that American Mythology Productions is putting out. They have Zorro in the Land That Time Forgot. I'm not reading this one. I think it's kind of like an odd. And they give you a little sample. I think we showed this in one of the other reviews. It's kind of an odd topic though, and the sample jumps around a bit. Page 13, page 16. And then we've got a couple horror comics, Beware the Witch's Shadow and Hatchet Halloween Tales number 2. So I think number 1 came out in October, and this probably is coming out in November, I would think. We'll find out. Carson of Venus, I have done some reviews of this. Beyond the Flames was the last set I did, and I don't think I gave that a recommend. But I think some of the other Carson of Venuses I have, especially the ones written by Len Wein, that were actually reproductions. Pelkidar, I have not read any of these, so I can't give you a heads up on that. I did do the first one of this, The Land That Time Forgot, or I mean, actually, the first one of this arc called Fearless, and it was very good. And again, it was Mike Wolfer doing the work on that. And I do want to get this one. This is already out. Zorro versus El Hijo del Muerte. In Zorro Galleon of the Dead. I read a sample of it. It was very good, exciting, and it is Mike Wolfer again. So I would probably recommend getting this if you haven't, if you like Mike Wolfer's work. And that's pretty much the end of this issue. And Moonmaid is also written by Mike Wolfer. I don't know much about this comic at all, so I can't recommend it at this point, but I'm hoping to find an issue of it, and I'll check it out and let you know if I do. So once again, thank you very much for stopping by the Temple of Tomes. As always, please subscribe, please like, please leave comments if you got anything to say. And as always, this is Indie Comics Jones from the Temple of Tomes bidding you adieu.